General of the Uganda Investment Authority, I take this honor to welcome you. Director General, before you is a fraternity of the media, but most importantly, we have in the room representatives of AMCHAM. The President of AMCHAM, Mr. Mike Davis, the Vice President in absentia, Madame Meg Jacquet, and members of the Board of AMCHAM, Director General, are all here with us. We also have Director General representatives of the Embassy of the United States, and here with us is Mr. Carlton Philadelphia, the Deputy Political and Economic Chief. We have in our presence Mr. Manicio Hernandez, the Economic and Commercial Specialist of the Embassy of the United States. We have before you Director General, the representatives of Management of Uganda Investment Authority, Director Madame Winnie Wolawoko, and other senior members of staff representing all the divisions of the Uganda Investment Authority. Today is a special day where we are going to go through a short program. In a short while, I'll invite the Director General to give opening remarks. We'll be also having an opportunity to listen to Mr. Mike Davis himself, representing AMCHAM and objectives of this Memorandum of Understanding which we are launching today. We'll also have the press having an exchange and interaction with both the Director General and Mr. Mike Davis. So without further ado, allow me to invite the Honorable Director General, Mr. Robert Mukisa, to give opening remarks at this juncture. Director General, sir.
Thank you very much, Peter. President of AMCHAM, our distinguished guests from the U.S. Embassy, Mr. Carlton, Philadelphia. You've been here just a few months, and I hope this is just the beginning of a fruitful relationship with Uganda. Mr. Hernandez, welcome to our office. I'm very grateful that you're here and have made time to come and join us here. I think this is quite an important engagement with the American Chamber of Commerce here. And I have quite a number of points I want to raise related to engagement with the American business community and investment here. One, I believe there is a huge chance for more investment from the US to Africa in particular, in general, but also Uganda in particular. I believe last year, in 2020, total FDI from the US was just over 42, 43 billion US dollars. This is the biggest economy in the world. There is huge opportunity to grow that here. And one reason I believe the US investment here is quite important is, there are high compliance requirements for US businesses to operate, to come and really invest globally. And I believe once we are able to attract them and they actually set up in our country, they will undercut issues related to corruption, to non-transparent dealings, and establish themselves here. So we want to work with the American Chamber of Commerce here, really to help us meet those compliance requirements. And I believe once we do that and continue to work together to do that, there will be a huge pool of investors from the US to have a confidence to engage in our country. The other reason I believe it's important to engage with the association here is storytelling. We need to tell the story of Uganda. And we need to tell revamp the pitch for investment in our country. There, I believe the power of the example is one of the most powerful story you can tell. There are US investors here. There are other investors in our country. How can we work together with you, American Chamber of Commerce in Uganda, to really tell that story of investment in our country and increase that focus and marrying with our domestic investors. There is a lot that you can bring here. There is a lot of businesses from the US that can come to our country. How do you marry them with our local investors such that we can get that transfer of knowledge, get that access to the markets in the US, but also tell that story that actually Uganda is ready for investment. Actually, Uganda can be and meet your business requirements, your ambitions here. But that can also be done through a lot of what I call business-to-business delegations. Yes, it's very good. We'll have meetings, quarterly meetings, scheduled meetings under the MOU we've got here. And why don't we have that practical matchmaking between us here and US businesses? And I believe that is one of the key partnerships I see going forward with you. Let us have our key local entities, marry them with yours. Let's have practical business actions and really serious KPIs. I like to use that word sometimes, but let the delegation be not just meetings and exchanging and going to the US to visit. It's real. We need investment here. We need real money coming to our country, real jobs. How can we now here work together to ensure that marrying is made and we hand it over to the two, because the businesses will know how to engage themselves. It's just the bottom line. So I believe that is something we need to work on very critically. The other is, I believe, data. I'm sure there are some American investors here that we don't have full visibility on in terms of, which sector are you in, and but they'll most likely come and engage with the American Chamber of Commerce. How can we exchange data? How can we know who is in which sector, where, what are the challenges they are facing, and really how many jobs they are bringing to our people, and how we can really benefit from that partnership with them. Because I believe the power of information is one of the most important. If you have full information, you have captured the investor, in my view. If he knows specifically where he can get his raw materials, where he can access his markets, if he knows very clearly these are the laws that you have to follow, these are the key partners you need to engage with. If you have that full information, you really have captured that. So let us engage in real data exchange for both sides. I also believe another area for me is how do we partner to strengthen the business competitiveness, the business environment in Uganda. How do you help us to break those barriers of investment? Most of these American investors, come to the embassy, come to you. There are various concerns they could have. How do we sit down together as key partners to say, let us tackle this together. Let us create that business environment for them to come here. So some of them are on a case-by-case basis. We need to unlock this gap here. We need to open this door. How can we work together with you to ensure that we do that? And I want really practical collaboration. Even if out of this every year we have unlocked 2 or 3 investments, I'm very happy with that. As opposed to having many meetings, but how many investments have we brought the country? My view is that. So even if we say we have investor X, Mike and I have really run around and I've gone around breaking the bureaucracy. He's run around, convinced the investor, and at the end of the day, investment X is in our country. for me, that is very practical. We have to do that. So as we go forward, and I'll task my team, it has to be very targeted collaboration. I can see in the MOU, there are quite a number of scheduled meetings, scheduled exchanges, core visits, and all that. That is very good. I'll go beyond that. We need to sit down and practically state, we want $10 million in this sector, $100 million in this sector. How can me and you are the president of the Chamber of Commerce, Uganda, American Chamber of Commerce, I'm the Director General. How do you now sit and court that investor together to ensure that he puts his money there? So I will depend on you for that a lot, especially understanding how to engage those different entities. So for me, my story here is to create that example and have that power of the example. Say, Uganda is ready for business. Uganda is ready for American investment. It has been done. We are doing it. We have a structure in place to continue doing it with you. And we exchange that together. I look forward to very strong collaboration. As I said, I want to ensure that there is a real KPIs to this. We need to put money to this collaboration. We need to put jobs at the center of this. We need to put compliance also at the center of this. How can you help us create that enabling business environment for the American investor to come and say, yes, Uganda is an area I want to engage in. The third one is, for me, lastly, I believe there is always a need for big ticket investments. I know they're already here from the US, but imagine we manage to court Disneyland into Uganda. It would be a game changer for me. 10 million visitors in this country, minimum, every year. How can we work with the embassy, government, AmCham, and say, okay, this Disneyland is going to take me 3 years to court to come to Uganda. Yes, we start working on those 3 years and say, let's start now until we get them here. Because those will be anchor investors, and imagine the support structures or other investors that will come because of them. The hotel services, the airline, the whatever it is. So Disneyland for me is an example. I'm talking about big ticket investments. Why don't we say, yes, we have a 5-year collaboration, but in 5 years we are going to bring Disneyland. In 5 years we're going to bring General Motors. In 5 years, I'm just giving an example like that. And once such an investor is in Uganda, you've already told the story to the US that Uganda is ready for US investment. It's very clear. So I want us to also look at that. Let's think, what kind of investor is that? Let's sit together with you and work, of course, with our leaders here from the US Embassy to say, let's push this. So with me and you, we'll sit down together and find who is that anchor investor. So at the end of these 5 years collaboration, we have brought Disneyland to Uganda, for example. So I need to think big, and I think we need to do that. But I thank you very much for this, and thank you very much for accepting to strengthen and concretize this partnership. And I thank you, our guests from the US Embassy, for joining us here. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Director General. Let's appreciate the Director General with a hand clap. The areas of data, the areas of performance indicators, the areas of quantifying our performance are very clear. Please let us now receive Mr. Mike Davis to acknowledge and give his statement as far as this memorandum of understanding is concerned. Mike, please.
Thank you. It's an absolute pleasure and honor to be here today. This is a long journey for us. We've been working on this for a few years, and I think it's a great start. I want to thank your staff and you especially to make sure that we have come together for this. Thank the board, the AmCham board, as well as the U.S. Embassy and the media and other guests here. The American Chamber of Commerce is a private professional organization. We represent about 50 different firms in Uganda focused on American investment and working with America. It's primarily top executive leadership, CEOs, MDs, and we have a forum for ourselves to figure out how do we do business better here, how do we do business better together. So what is American investment? Most people know the basic things. Citibank, Marsh Insurance and Risk Management, Coca-Cola, Willis Towers Watson. Those are big name firms that are here. What you may not know is that, as the Director General was mentioning earlier, there are a lot of smaller firms here with American investment. You look at a group like Samba Solution Stores, a boutique ISP, which resells Google Workspace and Microsoft 365. Look at Jacana Foods. They manufacture agricultural added products and export them to the US under organic certification. American Tower Company. Every single person in this room uses American Tower Company because they are the telecom backbone for all towers in the country. Agilis Partners. They are the largest producer of grains and oilseeds in Uganda, and they represent over 650 jobs, and they're an American firm here. You look at Raxio Data Center. It's an American firm that has built the first commercial enterprise-grade Tier 3 data center in Uganda. So you may not know about all these. There's many, many more, from large and small, growing and manufacturing chocolate, coffee, fruits, vegetables, building IT systems, banking, oil and gas. You may or may not know this, but McDermott is an American company, which is the EPCC for the central processing facility and the well pads. They bring jobs here in just about every sector. American brands, innovation, and investment. They bring Ugandan jobs, they bring tax revenue through investment, and we want to continue to build upon that. In addition to the commercial side, we want to thank our the U.S. government partners. The U.S. Embassy Kampala has been instrumental in bringing development to Uganda. As an example of this, through PEPFAR and health programs, in 2019, they brought $539 million of direct assistance for health programs. That's equivalent to 1/3 of the entire health spend of Uganda, and it's funded by the U.S. government. A total of $936 million was put through various other programs. In addition, COVID-19, America provided 2.5 million vaccines, $111 million of direct assistance, and many trainings for health workers, education opportunities, and distribution throughout the country. So we look at it from not just the commercial sense, but also from the government sense, where we work together and collaborate and bring opportunities to Uganda, which creates jobs and additional revenue for the country. All said in, this MOU is the first step in enhancing bilateral trade, furthering American investment in Uganda, and opening the American market to Ugandan products. As Robert mentioned, the opportunity to become transparent and provide a transparent product to the American market is very powerful. It provides a good brand name. And I also agree, we were having a discussion earlier about the rebranding of Uganda. How do we rebrand Uganda from X to Y? And the American populace will buy it. They want to be here. They want to take part in the development of not only Uganda, but the continent. There are many barriers still that exist to expanding American investment. In the past year, 3 major American firms have left: Africell, AIG, and Game. You may not know, but Game, while it's based in South Africa, it's a Walmart entity. It's owned by Walmart in America. Many reasons are thrown around. In general, it's the investment environment, regulatory environment, market size, and I think there's opportunities for us to collaborate and work together to how to identify specific opportunities. I think the first big opportunity for us is inclusion of American investors and professionals within the UIA discussions, not just at the highest levels. You know, there's a the Presidential Investors Roundtable, which is a great opportunity, but it goes beyond that to the operational level. How do we work with you to go, here's a very specific issue that needs to be addressed? Within there, at the board level at UIA, at the operational level, working with your team to make that happen. A question that was brought up to me by one of the UIA staff a while back was, what do American investors want? What do we want? We like transparency, but we don't necessarily want or need land. We can buy that. We don't necessarily want or need tax breaks. What we really want, those are fine, but what we really want is a fair, competitive environment that makes a fair playing field for everybody. So that we look at it, we can compete against everybody on the same level. What we want also is security, not for only our investments, but for ourselves. As an example, if we are enabling people to stay in Uganda for a long term, they typically reinvest. If you look at foreign investors who go to America, they invest in business after business after business after business and creates jobs all of the time. Elon Musk, as an example, is not an American, yet he has 4 major companies in America. And this is not his first round of investment. He keeps creating jobs for us. In addition, how do we want that fair playing field to happen? Similar structures for all businesses, no corruption, equal tax enforcement, and I'm positive over time working with UIA, we'll be able to enhance that and say, here's how we address those issues. The second step, I think, is a very specific initiative, is helping us repeal the VAT and withholding tax on foreign services. For those of you who don't know, what this is foreign technology, foreign brands, and foreign services are taxed with VAT and withholding tax that cannot be offset. So this is a below-the-line cost to the company that you cannot write off in your taxes. It's equivalent to 37% of that service. And what happens is it affects brands here. As you know, if you go to Kenya, you see many brands. You see the Burger Kings, the KFCs, the Pizza Huts, this brand, this brand, this brand. Here, it affects brands like Sheraton, who recently got a tax non-compliance issue on this specific item. It affects Google Workspace, Microsoft 365, all cloud-based services, Netflix, Amazon. So doing services in the cloud is disadvantageous in Uganda. So there's an opportunity, yes, to build some of these locally. But we have to be realistic. Services like Google, Microsoft, Oracle, Netflix, Uber, first are protected by copyrights, so we can't just copy them. Second, they cost billions to build. And to be very frank, it's realistic. We don't have billions to build a new Google in Uganda for Uganda. It's just not realistic. So how do we work together to enhance that environment, to allow us to use the tools that exist to build upon those tools? It's my personal belief that Uganda misses out on tremendous opportunities due to this. Many international brands are not in the market. Amazing American technology that can enhance agriculture outputs, manufacturing efficiencies are not looked at or not available because there's an additional 37% on top of that. You look as another example, John Deere uses GPS coordinated technology for agricultural efficiencies. I do not know of anyone using that in Uganda. But how can we deploy things like that here to make agricultural efficiencies and save that extra tax on that? I believe that the outcome of jobs and the creation of jobs will overcome that 37% tax, that initial barrier. Overall, this MOU will be extremely beneficial to Uganda, to the UIA, to the American Chamber, to the U.S. Embassy. It supports investment opportunities and policies that support business in general through special sessions we're going to hold jointly. I agree with you. KPIs are the way. We should be bringing money here. We need to find a way to bring money here. It facilitates the transparent consultation when engaging the stakeholders. How do we bring our investors here and make sure that they're handled with care, they're handled with transparency, and there's no corruption? How do we have changes in legislation, in law reform, in enforcement, taxation? How do we protect innovations and policies from replication and enforcement of intellectual property? It goes a long way towards cementing our relationship through this cooperation, and this is a great first step. We're positive that there's going to be sharing of more information pertinent and data. As we had chatted about before, the amount of American investment here is unknown, primarily because Americans we keep quiet on things in our investment because we want to build a business and do it privately. So I think this is a great opportunity, and I look forward to continuing the relationship. Thank you for everybody here. Thank you to Robert and UIA for hosting the event and for dedication to the partnership. We really appreciate it. So thank you.
Thank you very much.
This journey is not complete without pen and paper. Right now, the Director General, through you, I would like you to invite Mr. Mike Davis together jointly put on paper the memorandum of understanding on this day of the 27th of October 2021, where we shall see memorandum.
Okay. Yeah.
Immediately after signing, the press will come in for a Q&A led by Mr. David Repeal, our Communications and Directorate, Public Relations Directorate. I would like now to request the Director General to stand up and Mike to stand up and acknowledge signed memorandum of understanding.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Beautiful. Huh?
Yes, thank you so much.
The beginning of a series, so that you can do. Right. Yeah.
Let's appreciate
Very good, sir.
take your seat.
Mr. MC, would it be okay for a bit of a statement before from you if you have? Huh? Okay, that's okay. Then we can go ahead.
Thank you. David, are you ready? You should ask the session.
Thank you, my sense. My name is David. General, UIA, President Amcha. With us, we have members of Open State and also the fifth estate, digital media from various media houses. And it's our where they ask you some questions. There will be 3 or 4. Then we'll call it a day. We have Ali to have from New Vision. Please be brief.
This morning, thank you for the presentation. My name is Ali, I work in New Vision. About the MOU, you talked of the exit of some American company, AIG, Game, Officer. I just want to understand, is this MOU sort of king on their exit, so you want to understand, what do they tell you? Why did they exit the market? Is it an issue of policy? Is it the market? Just want to understand why you really decided to come at this time for your own.
Any other? Brian, that question is to the President Amcha.
Any other questions? Let's get a few.
Yes. Alan, yeah. And this? Okay, I think you can answer that as you can leave with more questions.
I'll start quickly on that. I think this MOU is to set very clear collaboration with the American Chamber of Commerce in Uganda so that we can enhance the business environment and competitiveness to allow us to attract more of our partners from the US here. But also to exchange that data so that we have real-time data on how we can support their engagement and aftercare here in the country. I believe one of the things I believe about investment here is it's almost like babysitting. We need to handhold the investor throughout the process of setting up and even staying. Once they're in the country, there's that aftercare is also very important. So we are looking to work together to say these key investors that you identify from the US market coming to Uganda, how does UIA support you? How do we work together really to handhold this investor in our country? But beyond that, once they're here, to be a point of call for them to ensure their business ambitions are met And that means that now we shall exchange a lot of data, we shall exchange a lot of information, such that if there is anything in the midst of implementation, we can come together and say, how do we support this entity to survive? I think that is the gist of, or one of the gists of this collaboration. When it comes again to your reference to firms that exited, yes, again, that's why we're talking about, let's exchange this data. Let's understand why they exited. Because actually we need to know that. Why not? What could we have done? What should we do to ensure that they are survive? Remember, this is in the midst of COVID-19. A lot of these are service sector entities, supermarkets and issues related to that. Even in some of their partner countries, there were a few issues. The issue now is, could we not wait for that to happen? The issue is, we should exchange that data such that we know, as they are operating, what is the challenge that is happening. If, for example, they were facing this 37% tax issue on services, at a certain point we are exchanging this information. How can we work together to support them to survive? And I think this is the, from the practical sense, not just bringing investment, also supporting our investors to survive and stay in this country and provide jobs to our people. I think practically we are going to be running around together. If an investor from the US has an issue, please run here. This is the issue that they've got. I run around, break that bureaucracy, and ensure that they stay here. I think that is the gist of this collaboration also.
I agree. I absolutely 100% agree. It's to help us understand why things like that are happening. This MOU was in process well before any of the exits happened. And it also helps us, this collaboration will figure out collecting that data and helping prevent or helping to keep investors here and keep investments and jobs in Uganda. And I think that's one of the key things we want to do, is to collect the data and continue to share information and ensure that jobs are still being created here, as well as kept here in the future. So, thank you.
Okay. Yeah, we have Person Mungere from Smart Info, and I should tell you that this is going live on Smart Info TV.
Very good.
Mungere.
Thank you so much. My question is this one. How much should we expect from this partnership after everything is done? Thank you.
Okay, I'll answer that also quickly. And that's part of the discussion, what I was saying earlier, is we need to put figures, targets, and ambitious ones, ambitious targets for our collaboration. For example, recently we were in Dubai, and we put a target to say for 6 months we are there, we need $4 billion to come to this country. So we work our socks off to ensure we get $4 billion. If we get 3 or 2, but there is a target there, there is a number that we are looking at, as opposed to saying we are going to have meetings.
Yes.
So I think for us, part of the discussion going forward is to say we are going to put a figure, at least a target that we both work towards, hone in and have a laser focus on that we shall achieve this every year. So that's something as part of, after this MOU, to go back and sit together with our team and ensure that we set that target every year. So we are going to set ambitious targets. At the end of every year, we should come back and say, okay, we bought $1 million, 10 million, 20 million, this number of jobs. That for me is a collaboration that we're looking for. Thank you.
We have Roland Assistant from Daily Monitor.
Do you want to?
Oh, no, I think you're right on board with that.
Okay. Daily Monitor?
Thank you. I would like to know what are the 3 priority sectors this MOU is looking at?
So there is no priority sector that we're looking at. What we're looking at is expanding American investment into Uganda across all sectors. Everything from agriculture, which America is one of the largest producers in the world of agricultural goods, to manufacturing and value addition, to tourism and hospitality, to information technology, across all sectors, bringing brands to Uganda as well. So while we may put a brand on something, a brand is more than just putting a name on a face. What it is putting systems behind there for training, for governance, for transparency, for that brand, which allows you to create a system which enhances everybody in the economy to match those certain requirements, regulations, and systems behind there. So it's across sectors.
We'll take more two questions.
Yeah, we have Ojip from New Village.
My name is John. Most times we are hearing a lot of ambitious plans. And there are so many opportunities for business. But nothing really seems to take off. For energy, actually, sorry to mention, but the Chinese are literally doing all the businesses, from roads to energy, everything literally. And sometimes American technologies, look at the phones, seem to be far ahead, expensive. When you talk of solar, the American solar technology is quite expensive. The Chinese one is quite cheap. So I don't know how they are. They have this AGOA, and it should not be moving. Uganda don't see. Actually, Uganda has benefited from AGOA in the situation that are being destroyed. So I don't know how. I know setting ambitious targets, setting ambitious implementation plans and actions. I think would be how to get the thing done properly. Just the agreement signed.
Absolutely. I think we are not signing an agreement for the sake of having a paper and so and sit down. We are now coming together to say, committing to get things done. So a very clear implementation plan will come up with that. You're very right. We need to tap into the superior technology access from the U.S. Market and from the U.S. investors, and that's why we are signing this. We have to be ambitious. We cannot sit here and not have ambitions for our country. We want investment, we want money here, we want jobs for our people. We have to be ambitious. So I see nothing wrong with being very ambitious and having transformative engagement here. The proof is in the pudding. That's why we need to have very clear targets and implementation plan and say at the end of the year, this is what we are going to bring. But that's why that's spelled out in the MOU. We are going to sit down and set those clear targets together and implementation plans together.
There's a different model in which business is done in Africa. I don't know if Americans are willing to adopt and adjust to the African model of business. Sometimes the business in here, MSPs, the models are different. You are picking the models from the West and trying to India can be a mismatch. When the Americans come here, you find you're a cash economy, you're a cashless economy. Those kind of differences. How are you willing to adjust so that you do the things the way they're supposed to be done? This one they are giving loans to the big banks, to the big companies, and the small companies for women and the like kind of.
Okay. Before he comes in, I'll answer quickly. We are part of a global economy. You cannot say Uganda does business like this, so we should stay there. We want to be fully integrated with the rest of the world. This is the biggest economy in the world. It is a no-brainer that we need to collaborate and innovate. So if the US companies are coming here, they're bringing innovation, they'll find a way. Leave it to the technical people to find a way to innovate and adapt to engage in the African market. So for me, it's an opportunity. So if we are used in a certain way, the world is also moving in a certain direction. We have to be fully integrated in this world. So I believe engaging with the US investors gives us new technologies, new ideas, access to skills that we might not have here. We can only grow from this partnership, I believe. But I'll leave you.
So I agree there's adaptation on both sides. Before I moved to Uganda, I did not know of a thing called mobile money. I'd only heard this magic word called mobile money. In America, we do not have mobile money. We don't use WhatsApp. Those are innovations which primarily are resided in non-American economies. There's opportunities there to learn from that side and adapt on our side. In addition, on the other side is looking at standards, certifications, processing methodologies to enable for our products from Uganda to be adapted in the Western world. Growing standards, as an example, is looking at the breeding methodology for cattle. How does that get tracked? What is the methodology for that, and how do you do that so you're enabling a tracing mechanism, traceability throughout the supply chain? Looking at how do we look at quality versus quantity? You know, we mentioned the solar from America is more expensive, but that's just on price point. If you look at the efficiency on a value per kilowatt hour, it's much better. So even though it costs more, you get more from it. So you have to look at many different aspects and see what's the value there. So, thank you.
And the last one on AGOA. I believe AGOA is, and it's now we have to, as Uganda, we have to take advantage of it. There are 6,000 products, 6,400 products that have quota-free and tax-free access to the US market. So if we are not accessing it, the issue is for us. We need to look internally. It is there. How can we work together, again, to support this engagement? And also, I even look from an investment perspective. If we are selling Uganda, we don't say we only have a market in Uganda. If you invest in Uganda, you have 6,000 products that you can export to the US. That can be part of our pitch also, because we have quota-free access, tax-free access of 6,000 products under AGOA. So we have a lot of work to do internally to say, let us access these markets. They are there, but we can't just have it and then sit back and say, okay, we are not accessing it. We need to take proactive action here. But I believe now, again, with the collaboration of American Chamber of Commerce in Uganda, we can support these farmers to access these markets, these entities to access through information exchange. Some of these things are really around information and issues related to that.
I think there's two specific things regarding AGOA that could help Ugandan farmers or manufacturers. One is standards. The American standard is typically a little bit above what is required by the law here. So you have to look externally and say what is required and then enhance yourself to that. The second is storytelling. As Robert mentioned, is how do we tell the story of what's going on? What is the story of Uganda, and how do we sell it to that market? Once that story is told in the right way, then what happens is people want to buy, and they will buy. The American market is massive. The first order for anyone like a Walmart is 15, 20 containers. So how do we scale up to get to that level, and how do we buy those kinds of things?
We have a lot of work to do.
Thank you very much, members of the press.
Thank you.
And we back to our next.
Thank you very much, David. Thank you very much, members of the press and Director General. Thank you so much for ably handling this session with Mr. Mike. Ladies and gentlemen, the conversation begins today, but keeps going. And on this juncture, I would like, through the Director General, to appreciate one member of staff who has been at the helm of this engagement in the names of Mark Wagbala, right here. Please let's give him a hand clap. We will continue to captain this initiative through the Office of the Director General and through the Investment Promotion and the Director of Business Facilitation. At this juncture, I would like now to, through the Director General, allow that we take a group photo. This group photo is in commemoration of today, but also with your permission, Director General, I would like to humbly ask Mr. Mike Davis to lift the dedication and the embassy to do a quick walk round of the one-stop center service, which is one of our key business facilitation centers that will anchor this initiative going forward for our investors who are here and those who are coming. Then lastly, through Director General has also prepared a massive breakfast for all of us, and you're all invited upstairs to join him after the picture. Thank you very much.
So we take a picture here.
We'll allow the first picture for the Director General and Mr. Mike Davis. Then after they will be joined by the embassy representative and other members of the Board of AMCHA. So first, Director General and Mike Davis. Then after that, they will be joined by the embassy representatives and representatives of the Board of AMCHA. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Please. Members of AMCHA, please.
Senator Nassau. So we
Yeah.
go to Director.
It's too long.
Too wide.
It's too wide.
It is
It's too wide.
Squeeze it